Happening. Welcome to another episode of The Craft. My name is Nick Pollack of Pitcher List, and my special guest today is somebody who is enduring a super massive cold, and he's about to have his flu game podcast, and that is Eno Sarris of the
I
Athletic.
will persevere.
Exactly, flu game, flu game. What is happening, Jordan? How you doing?
I'm about to drop 60.
Yeah, let's go.
No, let's go. Don't worry about
Drop
the
60
sound
players.
of my
Why are you
voice.
dropping so many starters? What's going on? Oh man. What we're gonna do today, had a really good idea for this, which is essentially identifying through K minus walk rates and really getting getting involved with all the guys that you are thinking about dropping or maybe adding to your teams right now. Who are the ones that we actually like? Who are the ones that we're seeing performance thus far and we're saying, yeah,
Like
but looking forward.
a bad
Who
peripherals
would that
draft.
be? Yeah, that brutal graph.
A bad peripherals draft.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's I've got great hearing, guys. I swear.
Who are we picking off of I basically just sorted by K minus BB the wrong way.
The wrong way.
Let me tell you, it's not an exciting place to be. I mean,
No,
if you look at the very bottom of the K minus BB list, sorted the wrong way. Who do you have at the very bottom? You have the only person who has thrown 10 innings and has a negative K minus BB. It is, drumroll please, Randy Vasquez.
I know. It's Randy Vasquez is a guy that throws strikes, okay? And you know what? Sometimes you just need a pitcher to throw strikes and hope for the best.
13% walk rate? Throw strikes?
Okay, fair enough. But there the guy, you're totally right. But I've seen him have success 5-6 innings and like getting enough strikes over the plate and getting those outs, and it's like fine.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, you can hold your nose in certain matchups and go for it. I mean, I still, Brian Bayo has the third worst K minus BB in baseball, and I still have some hope for him. I don't think I'm going to be picking him off the list today. I think the hardest thing is that when we watch Brian Bayo, I think we both agree like he can't ever have the slider and changeup going at the same time.
Oh my gosh, that's the life of him, and I don't know why. It blows my mind. Actually, I was talking to Eric Smolsky last night at a mini pitcher list meetup in Park Slope, and he found it so funny because what happened after Bayo had his really nice season is they came up with changeup and a sinker, and then the hype started really getting there in the beginning of 2024 because he met with Pedro Martinez over the winter. But what's Pedro Martinez's best thing?
Changeup. Well, yeah,
but Bayo already had that, and Eric's like, "Why are we?"
Yeah, why is that going to change everything? I like him because he kept throwing his slider harder and harder, and I thought, just a good slider. There's some interesting research. I know it's hitters, so you're gonna have to hold your nose here for a second. But there was some interesting stuff posted by Stephen Sutton Brown on the socials about using these swing metrics. To find something, and of course it ends up being mostly useful to pitchers right away. But he did this really cool thing where he looked at the tilt of the batter's swing relative to their middle four seam tilt.
Oh yeah, I saw this. So good.
By location. And so basically what he's saying is the batter's tilt is telling you where they think the ball is.
Yeah.
And he used that to create a where does the batter think the ball is metric.
Right.
And then he looked at where the whiffs were. And the whiffs were if the pitch came in lower than expected more often. And that's the slider. And so the reason we liked Bayo for a little bit was the harder the slider is, the more it looks like a four-seam fastball, the more whiffs it gets. And that's sort of a general thing. And it's about expectations. It's about what the bat is doing in that moment. But, for whatever reason, I just, maybe it's because he throws a sinker as a predominant pitch and this like gyro slider, maybe they don't look like each other. And the slider that he was throwing close to 80, 88, 89, 90 miles an hour, this year's 85.7. And that's
Yeah.
like a 10-mile-an-hour difference off his sinker. So it probably doesn't look as much like his sinker as it used to. And then if it's just a 85-mile-an-hour, pitch that doesn't move.
Yeah, that's not a fun thing to do.
Right.
With Brian Bayo, it's not like if he just goes back to again changeups, sinker, he can still be effective with that, but he needs to be aggressive with it. He's not someone who he's trying to do a little bit too much of the neck beard and staying away out of a neck beard. If you don't know, is pitches along the edges and underneath, but just out of the zone and not in the zone. So you make a lovely neck beard of the strike zone plot. But he's not
the Elvis Andrus of pitching.
Yeah, exactly. The Eddie Rosario almost. And the problem with it is he's not as precise enough to do that. Nor does he have the enticing slider, as you're mentioning, to really encourage those chases when he is out of the zone. So he really should be attacking more, Brian Bayo. The Red Sox themselves have said this too. And hopefully we do see it over time. I'm not really buying it in the short term. I think there's just too much to fix. And when it's a mixture of, hey, the pitch isn't that great and you aren't really utilizing what you have to its best degree anyway, those two separate paths are problems. And when you have two of them, it makes it really tough for me to sign on.
Who's the
yes.
highest, the worst, who has the worst K minus BB that you like the best?
Okay.
Who's like the first guy if you're skating down from the top? Who's the first guy you're like, oh, I think I like him, even though his K minus BB is 3?
Well, okay. So liking is a very interesting term.
Like we expect it can even be because of the schedule. It could be because of the schedule.
Sasaki to be something at some point. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So fine, he's the fourth
keeper
one
designation,
right?
Yeah.
We see Sean Burke, and I'm like, well, Sean Burke, again, what we saw in September is not really what we've seen this year, and there are things to like in there, and he should not have a 1.5% K minus walk rate, right? A 14% strikeout rate is not.
But he also hasn't shown us like a secondary pitch that we can believe in yet.
Yeah, really he had a slider on the curve, getting 20% swing strikes last year, in that smaller sample. Yes, but they were good enough in my view. If the four-seamer was great, but nothing has really clicked in full for Sean Burke. Then there's Noah Cameron at 7, who was 94 plus in the spring with his fastball, and then it fell to 92. And then recently, when he last started, it's 90 now. And I'm like, I like that he has his changeup and the curve and the cutter, but with such a mediocre fastball, it's tough for me to really lean into a rookie like that. So I'm a little there. But so if I really want to go into this, I would say, I mean, it's 20 and 21, right? Sandy Alcantara and Jackson Jobe. Yeah. Those are the two you're like, you shouldn't be, you shouldn't have the bread of the sandwich as Charlie Morton and Tyler Alexander, right? Followed by Cal Hendricks, Miles Michaelis.
I mean, right next to Osvaldo Bido. I mean,
do you know who that is?
Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah, I said Mitch Spence,
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were both wrong. Great.
Yeah.
Sandy Alcantara's location plus on the slider is awful this year, 77. Yeah. And we've talked about this a little bit, so we don't have to talk it into death. But there is a 137 location plus on the slider and a 90 in 2 of his last 3 starts. The start against the Dodgers, he actually located his slider well and still gave up 5 runs. But I mean, there's an intersection between how good he was and how good the other team is,
Yeah.
He had okay slider location against the White Sox, had 8 strikeouts in 5 2/3 against 3 walks. Like that could have been a better game. If he just given up 1 or 2 more runs last, that would have been a game like, oh, he's turning around. And this is just a weird thing. Ooh. But there's a new thing on Fangraphs today called the park factors are in the pudding.
Okay.
And it's a great piece by Kiri Oler, who goes through the park factors and does a monthly park factor. And then does a monthly park factor over expectation. And this might be surprising, but even domes have monthly park factor fluctuations.
What?
I think it's because the doors open. You can't
Oh,
keep
wow.
all of that out.
That's something.
It's not my idea. Like, I love this idea for Colorado of like a pressurized dome where you have to like go through 2 pressurized doors to get in.
Yeah.
It's not like that in a regular. You just open a door and you go in. So there's stuff coming in.
So the one that I first went to, and I was like, I'm confident in, and I'm so happy to see it's correct, is Petco Park. You see -5, then a 6+ in June.
Yes.
And a 4+ in July, and a 3+ in August, and a -3.
It's about to get hot
-4 in
in San
September. It's
Diego,
all about
yeah.
the heat there. The humidity will help or hurt, and it's
Yeah.
that makes
Miami,
me
though.
terrified of Nick Pivetta.
Miami, though, for some reason, enjoys July.
Hmm.
So, there could be a park tractor confluence. I just think for Sandy, though, it's time. I really wanted to bring this up for Andre Pollack, who
Oh
is a
man, I'm
guy.
happy. I saw you texted me his name, and I'm like, I like this. Let's see what you got to say.
Well, it's kind of an old school play. It's
Yeah.
just, hey, this guy keeps the ball on the ground.
Mhm.
He doesn't really usually walk people. Every once in a while, he has a bad walk game. Doesn't walk people. And then a little bit of new school is that June is the best month in St. Louis for park factors. Surprising to me, it's getting hotter, but for whatever reason, June is a good month in St. Louis. And I just think he's undervalued. I think he's a great 2-start guy. He won't hurt you there. The team is like good enough to get him some wins. It's not like, right now I have another guy that we'll talk about later from the White Sox, in for a 2-starter. And I have Bailey Falter in for a 2-starter.
Oh
And,
man. Bailey, I'll talk about Bailey Falter later. Oh my gosh.
will I get one win out of these guys? I don't know. I think Pollack.
We did last night, I think, from Falter.
Yeah, I think I did get
He
one.
got it's a new term I have. He strolled on the Reds carpet.
Yeah, Reds are pretty bad. They're an underratedly bad offense, and not a bad
especially
one
on
to
the
scheme
road.
against.
So I say, if you see a guy getting the Reds on the road, it's you're walking the red carpet because now everyone's paying attention to you, and they walk all over him. So it's like when Walker had 11 strikeouts against the Reds, and everyone paid attention, and it's like, well, you shouldn't.
One thing that I always have to remind myself is that there is a point at which location plus matters. It comes online after 500 pitches. So at this point in the season, 794 pitches in for Pollack, 105 location plus. That's meaningful.
Yeah.
So
he's an interesting breed of here's a cut fastball, do something with the cut fastball. There are times he has those games where it's like sinker inside to right-handers and sliders away as well, like really well parting of the Red Sea of these two pitches. And they just have like all these just here's lefties. I don't know, man. Here's cut fastballs. Go, right. Do something with it. And his velocity actually at the beginning of the year was 92 and change. And now Palante is at like 95 on this cut fastball all of a sudden. They're like 3 games ago, bam, it's just back. That's interesting. I'm very much with you of Palante being a deep league play with that. I think it's the #1 defense in the majors behind him. And this is something I mention every year is if we can figure out which defenses are going to be like top 3, especially infield defenses, we can predict breakout Tobies essentially.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. Especially if they have 60% ground balls. His 2 best outings on the season in the last 2. So
yeah,
I know the K-BB, but the type of player also that will be undervalued by K-BB search is obviously a home run suppressor ground baller. You see a lot of those guys on this list, and so Pollack, even though he has a 7.5% strikeout minus walk rate, I have him on my list of usable in the right situations.
You have another person right after him, but before we do, really quickly, I want to mention I was spending so long. You said, hey, the Marlins, look at this July. It's like they're not affected, whatever. I go, and I scanned the list of stadiums for like 10 minutes. trying to see where's Marlins Park. Where is this? And I couldn't remember that they changed it to Lone Depot Park.
Oh, I mean, I couldn't remember the Chicago White Sox name.
It's just Rate Field now.
Yeah,
it's just Rate.
Rate.
Just like okay, it's like
how do you rate
next? It makes sense to me because they have no barrels.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh God, no! But Lone Depot Park, Marlins. I'm so sorry. It should be Miami Park or whatever. It's just took me so long. But on your list, you actually gave me someone who's the complete opposite of Andre Pallante.
Yes.
And who would that be?
Jack Leiter?
Oh, Jack Zippo, as we like to call him.
But I just wrote about him this week, and here is my optimistic case for Jack Leiter.
Sure.
He can locate the sinker, and he can locate the slider. And in his last 3 starts, he's begun to really ramp up using those 2 pitches over the fastball, which he cannot command.
Yeah.
So I think what he'll eventually end up being is a guy who uses the fastball on 2 strike counts. Does not he kind of pitches backwards, even though he has a good fastball. He can't command it. I've seen some of it from Boyle before, where he went really slider heavy. I think it can work because he has a wider arsenal than Boyle. And so, if he's a sinker slider guy against righties with the occasional 4-seam and 2 strike counts, that's pretty devastating. The curve is pretty good pitch too. And then against lefties, he'll walk them. He'll walk the lefties. But if he walks righties less, then it could work.
There's somebody, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Jose Budo. I think that's what it was. Who just refused. I was like, nah, I'm just going to walk my lefties, and then I'm really good against righties.
Yeah, I mean, Will Warren does it. Like some other guys do it.
Yeah, that's so funny. I will say this year actually, overall, Jack Leiter's 4-seamer is thrown in a 2 strike count 45% of the time, which is really really high. He only has a put away rate of 15%. Which is so low. Put away rate being when you throw this pitch in a 2 strike count, how often does it result in a strikeout? And what we generally see for just average 4-seamers, if you're throwing them in 2 strike counts, it's like a 20%, 21%. And the elite ones, actually, that's pretty good. It's like 19%. The elite ones are like 25%. And so the fact that he's throwing these in 2 strike counts so often and not getting it likely is a product of that command, because I remember hearing from you here on this podcast that whiffs are more correlated with location than they are with stuff. So if you are, it's like the other way around of stuff is more about weak contact in many ways.
He's bottom 5th in the league in waste pitches. So,
wait, you're talking about waste pitches now. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you stuff. I haven't done it yet. I haven't gone Kyle or some random person who I can't wait to see combining stuff plus with waste pitch percentage. And seeing what that returns. I'm so curious. The efficient guys who have good stuff has got to be the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I think that Leiter, for me, I think he actually is acceptable in any league. I think that's how good the upside is.
Yeah.
But he's also cuttable in any league, and I'm putting him into deals in keeper leagues because even $1 Jack Leiter and Ottoneu, if I'm winning, it might be better for someone else to take on that risk.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. It's hard to gauge because it's kind of like Job, but I have more faith in Job, and he has a lot of options, and you see how, oh cool, you do this, you do that, you do this, this is going to work. Your stuff is good enough, and you have a deep arsenal. You should be able to figure out this puzzle and all of a sudden be a really good pitcher. The benefit of Job is I personally have more faith in his ability to execute those tweaks, to actually say, great, this is how I'm going to manage an at-bat now. I'm going to, instead of going early with the 4-seam, I'm going to go later with it. I'm going to be throwing sliders over here, down and away, and then I'm going to do this with my sinker. I think Job has a lot more handle on it than Leiter does. And what we have seen, as you mentioned, is this pitching backwards a bit lately, more so. with the slider first. One part of it, though, is he had got the Astros in his last game, Jack Leiter. And the Astros are pretty much exclusively right-handed, save for it's just Jordan and maybe. And that means it's just slider party. It's dancing with the disco, as I like to call it, because Anthony Descalfani would throw.
Oh, that makes it easier for him to push that slider number. You're right.
So the bad part is that the four-seamer wasn't up. That needs to be up, this four-seamer. This is like a flat one with vert, with all the things you want. It would just explode upstairs. And that's the problem of Leiter, is that he's not doing that now with that slider down. Like last year, we saw him four-seamers actually kind of up a lot, but the slider wasn't that reliable strike pitch. Now the slider is becoming a strike pitch, but now the fastball is not doing what it needs to do upstairs. That's a sub 50% high location pitch right now.
The thing that's true of both Job and Leiter that's not true of a Joe Boyle is that they have these larger arsenals.
Completely.
So to some extent, like there's some like, oh, I can't, like I can normally command this, but I can't command, like there's going to be game-to-game blips and game-to-game ability to adjust where they can say, oh, all right, I'm really spraying the four-seam today. I guess it's going to be a sinker slider day or whatever,
No, definitely.
And to morph to the scouting report. Oh, I'm facing Houston today. It's really righty heavy. I get to be sinker slider. Whereas Joe Boyle has the command issues of a Jack Leiter, but a pretty tiny arsenal.
No, I'm completely with you there. I am really curious what we get from Joe Boyle, because apparently he's not walking anybody in the minors right now. So, oh boy,
he's done
this whole thing. I do want to warn a little bit that the middle location for Jack Leiter's sinker is, well, put it this way: league average is 8%. Jack Leiter has it at 17%.
Wow.
It is 96th percentile. And that's not great. So hopefully he can at least get that more arm side.
Hey, we're shopping in the bad bins today, okay?
What I'm telling everybody is what you should be looking for when Leiter breaks out, because honestly, I'm with you, He will eventually. We saw him in the beginning of the year actually have a better flow with his arsenal for 2 starts before the blister happened. And we're just kind of waiting for it to happen. He also gets a really good schedule in the short term. So
the next 2 starts are White Sox and Cardinals. I'll take those.
Absolutely. Now, looking a little bit deeper into this, it's still bad K- walk rates with a lot of sub 20% strikeout rates. There are some that I'm just going, oh yeah, I think like this is an easy circle. And I think a lot of people actually might not want to. They might be terrified. And we're going to talk about who that is after this break. Did you expect me to bring up Tanner Bybee today, Eno Sarris?
I mean, once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, duh. That's one I'll take. I mean, also, just for reference for anybody who's listening, the average K- BB is around 14%. And by the time we get to Tanner Bybee, we're at 9%. So we're getting closer. Also, of the guys who had an above average stuff plus so far, we've mentioned all of them. Going down the list, it was Sandy, Job, Jack Leiter, and Bryce Miller, who I think if the elbow's healthy, I think it's just about getting his command back, and then Tanner Bybee. So far we've hit on every guy that has above average stuff, and so I wasn't too surprised that Tanner Bybee was on your list.
This is always just a fun game of mine. It's just really simple to do sometimes. Is say, hey, this guy, he had a 26% strikeout rate last year, and he has a 16% this year, right? So what is wrong? You can do this. Can be a very simple exercise. You go to our player page, you go to all pitches, and you see in 2024, you go underneath counts, and you see this lovely column called PAR, put away rate percentage. You can't have a strikeout if you have a 0% put away rate. I mean, you are not, when you're in a 2-strike count, how often are you getting that as a strikeout? So last year, we have against all, this is all, not even like splits yet, a 22% put away rate on the cutter last year. This year, 8%. I mean, that's as straightforward as you'll get of just,
do you have time splits?
Cool. Do I have what?
Time splits on that?
Time? Sure, you can do that inside the game log as well. So what time would you like to see?
I'm just noticing that, at least by stuff plus the cutter on 422, became better than average again?
422, 0% put away rate.
Well, I just mean 422 on. So
absolutely. I'll tell you exactly the games.
0%,
11%, 0%, 11%, 0%.
So it hasn't gotten that much better.
Now, I will say thrown in 2-strike counts is lower. It's just overall 18%. He's using this early.
It got
while
more
last
cut.
year he used this cutter in 33% of 2-strike counts.
It got more cut that day. So I think he's finding it again.
I agree with you. I think I was actually yelling at him just to throw it in the first place, and he started to throw it a little bit more. But it's really, this is a common question I think we get is, hey, is this guy cooked now? Is he just done? And what we say is, all right, what was the thing that made this guy successful before? I think the good example I have is last year's Michael King, where he actually wasn't doing well in April. Like, it wasn't good for him at all. And you look at his individual pitches and you see, oh, his sweeper has been really bad. And then you're essentially making the bet that I think that Michael King is bad. Why? Because the sweeper that is bad right now will continue to be bad. Or you can make the bet he'll likely have the larger sample of last year with that really good sweeper and get that back. And over time, and that's what he did. And there you go. That's Michael King. So Tanner Bybee is essentially 2 years. That slider they used to have is this cutter for the most part. And
that's his best by pitch type values.
Yeah,
easily.
This is his best pitch. It always has been. The idea that Tanner Bybee now forever does not have this pitch is just not something I believe in. Meanwhile, the changeup isn't doing exceptional things. It's just a 14% swing strike rate this year for it, which is not what it used to be. We're talking like, actually, take that back. Well, it wasn't 2023, but 14% last year too. So nope, it's not even that. It's just the cutter, guys. Just the cutter. And I think that's going to be different over time. So I'm buying in on that.
Yeah, I do wonder. So like everything kind of went over a seat in his breaking balls.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's tempting to say that his curve is not any different, but his curve is a little different. He used to throw like an 80-mile-an-hour curve with, 3 or 4 inches more drop than it has now. And now it's like an 83-mile-an-hour curve. And it's being called a slider. So I don't know. It's a little like, I just think that he doesn't have the curve that he used to have before, but he does have 2 breaking balls. And what he has introduced since last year is a second fastball. And that should be theoretically good. I mean, Stuff Plus likes it, and it's a wider arsenal. And Stuff Plus likes his changeup too. So
the sweeper is being thrown 42% of the time. This was a pitch that he didn't have last year. In 2 strike counts, 42% of the time against right-handers, 10% put away rate.
This is Bybee?
Yeah, Tanner Bybee sweeper. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. That feels like it's maybe harming him a bit of trying to make that thing work as well. So it's a little, it's just all very interesting to me of like, what is, there's something here that can be fixed. It has to be of like, he tweaked around a little too much. That sinker is being an exceptional pitch. 23% ICR so far against right-handers. That is incredibly effective. It's a really good point that you brought that up. His four seamer isn't even getting crushed. It used to get crushed like 43% ICRs, right? Really bad contact. 29% this year against right-handers with that.
He's being more limited with it. He's using it less often because he's got the sinker.
Yeah, and both are being effective. Even though our PLV hates it against right-handers, we're getting the results because of the sinker being with it. And just thinking about it like that, how the individual pitch metrics are not relative always to the other things in the arsenal and the sequencing of it. And it's like it's right there, but you just got to find those, those whiffs. You got to get that cutter back really, and just kind of maybe drop that sweeper.
I mean, one thing that is working against him is that thing that we were talking about earlier in terms of the ballpark. Let me just check in on that one because I know Cleveland changes a lot.
Yeah.
Over the course of the season. And what's it called again?
What's it called? It's a G. Progressive field.
Progressive, that's it.
Yeah.
June. Oh no.
June's like the worst?
June's the worst. Well, I still think, I mean, He's going in the right direction, I think, generally. And at Cincinnati was his only bad start, really, in the last 4 starts. And that's a pretty tough park. He went into Toronto and did pretty well. Handled Minnesota and Philly. I mean, 7 innings, 1 run, 3 strikeouts.
So I'm going to let you know there are 4 homestands in Cleveland for June. Okay, it's the Astros, it's the Reds, the Blue Jays, and the Cardinals. Maybe he even misses the Blue Jays one. It's just 3 games, so don't worry too much, guys. Okay, it will all be all right. Return or Bybee in due time. Trust the skills at some point in recovering. Also, I'll take the ballpark for 1 game or so.
I would avoid 527 at home against the Dodgers. Just me.
What? No way.
Nah. That one I've got circled. But I'll take that next one tomorrow against Detroit, and I'll pick him up even if I have to sit him. One guy I like on this list that also does not fare well with these peripherals because it is going to be a bad month in Rate Field in July when it's plus 12 over their regular park factor is Mr. Davis Martin.
Oh yeah, Davis Martin. By the way, I was clapping because you did the period clap between all of those words, and I loved it. It was great. Who is going to be? Davis Martin is interesting. There's a cutter. Oh boy.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Davis Martin has been throwing the cutter more. I think it's slightly different, but it's more just about more. And
is that spelled MOAR?
Yeah. He has gone in, the early season, he was throwing it about 10 to 15% of the time. He's gone ham on it 30% of the time over the last 47% of the time at Cincinnati. And basically what he's done is I'm going to do 3 fastballs, fastball, cutter, and sinker. And then I'm going to do my kick change. And the breaking balls, which are not rated that well. It's funny because I was told that he was, a supinator. And
well, the slider used to be really good at times. Like that was the pitch at first. And then it became
both breaking balls flash.
Yeah,
okay. And I think what the cutter is, it's just like Mr. Dependable, And so he's pushed the stuff plus on that pitch, closer to 100 by, and this is crazy, like getting some cut on it. Like he used to actually be one of those ones who throws a cutter that has arm side movement.
Yeah.
And so he's now got a little bit of cut on the pitch. I think it's there for him every day, and it allows him to play the 3 fastballs of each other and then throw to the kick change. And then it just also takes the pressure off of the breaking balls. If one of the breaking balls is there, it's great. But he went through this whole game against Cincinnati where he threw 6 2/3, got 5 strikeouts, 1 earned run, and he didn't really he didn't throw his breaking balls at all.
Oh yeah, I know. No, it was just cutter, 4-seamer, sinker, changeup. Yeah.
There are not a lot of other pitchers like that.
Mm.
But if he is now a changeup guy, there are guys who are changeup guys who then, add a cutter and make it work. And so I think all the pieces are there. And I know that you don't want him in July, but do you want him? I wanted him for this 2-starter. He just had a pretty good start
against the Mariners.
Against the Mariners, and then his next one is Texas. I'll take him on a start-by-start basis.
Yeah, it could be a Toby in the making, right? I'm trying to think of like who are just fastball only guys. I just think of Jack Kahanowitz when he's the jack of one trade. But
well, there's the Luis L. Ortiz, Osvaldo Bido, Mitch Keller group, which are kind of like 3 fastballs and a breaking ball.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So yeah, kind of would be 3 fastballs and a changeup.
We thought that was the case for Luis L. Ortiz, and it's just like one day he's like, I'm gonna throw like 40% changeups and see what happens,
And they're good.
They're good, but Luis L. Ortiz is like they're good, but then they're also bad because he doesn't know where they're going.
Command them.
Sometimes he does. And it's like, okay, no, never mind. That's why he gets like 16 whiffs a game and it's 4 earned runs. Like, oh, cool, thanks. But no, Davis Martin to me, I mean, I understand the love for 15s. For 12s, I'll put it this way. Without whiffability, really, that I don't think is, I know 11 whiffs against the Reds, but it's the Reds. I don't really buy that this cutter is an 11 over 45 whiff pitch. Without that, and also being on the White Sox,
not getting any wins.
It's not really the kind of ceiling I like chasing.
He's like an NFC guy for me. He's like a 2-start NFC guy for me.
Yeah,
I'm very
right.
happy
That's what
in
I'm
a
getting
15
at.
team.
The
Yeah,
15,
I was very happy to get him this week.
I do want to mention then so I'm in a guillotine league, which is my like deep league one. And if you don't know what guillotine league, essentially you start with like 20 teams, and ideally you start with 24. And every week, whoever has the lowest point total that week, their entire team goes to the waiver wire.
Wow.
And
they're out.
They're out, right?
Wow.
So I love this league because it's a points league. And that means it just favors essentially quality starts and wins
and volume. You want to have 2
right?
starts, huh? Yeah.
So a lot of the guys go for the hot frizzles or whatever that I'm all about in 12 teamers. I'm like, I don't want to touch Jack Leiter in this. What are you doing? Get out of here. Give me random streams. So I streamed last week Patrick Corbin against Rocky Road. And this week I got our next guy, Bailey Falter, against the Reds.
And I was happy on that start, and I used him too.
It's like I get it. I get where you're going. Oh, wait, Davis Martin, it might be actually a little sneaky thing for me to do in this one. And funny story, you get 1,000 fab for the year in that league, and it's so easy to just spend all of your money right away, right? Just like the first week happens, all of a sudden, oh my gosh,
guillotine. You're like, oh my god, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I have spent, I think, like $20 in 8 weeks or something.
Jesus, all on like $2 a week for streamers.
I don't go after any hitters unless it's like best in slot, and even then, I'm going to overpay now than I will later. And I'm just like, just give me some volume of guys in the lineup and hitters, and then I'll just stream and just focus on extreme, like just good matchup pitchers volume wise, and it's fine. It's also nice drafting like Eovaldi and Luzardo in a league like that. But anyway, for Bailey Falter, he had this game against the Mets where he had 7.6 feet of extension. I still can't believe that one. It's just like literally 100th percentile. Like that is Logan Gilbert on a good day. And then he couldn't look at anything because he was like, whoa, look at all this extension. So then he fell back to 7.3. Oh no, woe is me. And he had a really good four-seamer against the Reds. He destroyed them last night, Bailey Falter. He doesn't have anything else. And I keep saying this, and it's been a joke for like 4 years now, and I'm going to keep saying it. Some team is going to trade for Bailey Falter. They have to. And I can't say enough that it's got to be the Rays, because they've done this trade many times of going to the Pirates, like, oh yeah, there's this guy that's really interesting, and you don't have a pitching development team that we like, so we'll just handle it. And they just snipe this guy from him. So I'm saying it now, July 31st, all of a sudden the Rays go and acquire Bailey Falter from the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah. I'm excited about it. And hopefully they'll find something that's not the splitter. That's not the whatever breaking balls that he has right now. Just something else to actually work with that four-seamer upstairs. Because it also gets like 19 inches of vert, 18 to 19 at 92,
so
93.
Weird.
It's,
I'm looking at his platoon splits, by Stuff Plus.
Yeah.
And 106, 107 Stuff Plus on the four seam, despite poo-poo velo.
Yeah, because of the extension. The extension's so good.
Yeah, 105 on the sinker. So it still likes the sinker.
Yeah.
And then even against opposite, four seam 100 opposite, sinker 99 opposite. So he has fastballs. He can play them off each other. He doesn't have a secondary against either hand. The only thing he has is a curve that is 101 Stuff Plus against same-handed. And it's, I guess, 87 Stuff Plus against opposite. So maybe he should be throwing the curve more than the slider.
It's really, honestly, what I think whenever I see stuff like this is where my pitching brain goes, is just, all right, you are not going to teach him some brand new grip and a way to throw something, right?
It must be. He must be searching through all of it. I talked to him about searching for a changeup, and he's been like, I've tried every changeup grip.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't want Bailey Falter to do anything that is not like throwing a fastball. So there are a lot of guys that are like, okay, cool, I'm throwing the sweeper. I got to get down on this side. I got to go like this, come around it. Okay, I'm doing this curve. I'm going to go down with my pinky like this. No. You can build an arsenal just by throwing a four-seamer and then changing your fingers off of it as much as you can.
Like a knuckle curve, supposedly, the way that AJ Burnett told me is like, just throw it like your four seam, and maybe like a harder wrist, but otherwise,
a stiff wrist with it, right? So like traditional cutters were throw like a four seamer, but then you tilt, right? It's a circle change as you throw it like a four seamer, but it's net with your middle and your ring instead, right?
Right.
Just doing different things that make you feel like you're doing the same exact arm action, the same exact wrist action as much as you can. I'm sure he is experimenting as much as he can with it, but I have to think there is something that will give it to him, because really it's so rare to see this of, wow, if you add something from being really bad down here, like you don't even need it to be the filthy McFilth pitch. You just need like an average changeup and you win. You've got it, Falter. All of a sudden you just become something real,
I mean, it's just amazing that he has 400 innings of even a 4.47 ERA, and he's been above replacement. I mean, just given the fact that he throws 90 and doesn't have a good secondary, like you would.
Hey, it's 92, 93 now. Okay, let's give him some more credit. All right, that's a big difference,
Just want to give a little love to. I wrote about Mudzinski not having the arsenal it takes to get lefties out this week, and he got sent down. And Burrows is up in his place.
It's not Bubba.
Not Bubba. But the nice thing about Burrows is that he has an interesting grouping of pitches. He has a slider at 108 stuff plus, changeup 104, four seam 101, curveball 96. I don't know. That's pretty enticing to me. That's a 4-pitch mix that should be able to get both hands out. None of the pitches looks like a real out pitch. That's, I guess the ceiling is maybe not there, but the floor looks decent, and they're doing a pretty good job.
Like a very just heater. I mean, I'm looking at right now, just like his debut in the end of September last year, and I could be very wrong. He's a different guy now from AAA.
I don't know. 100 stuff plus doesn't suggest that it's an amazing heater now or anything.
Yeah, I mean, last year, so that one game in Yankee Stadium, he threw 37 of them, was 94, 95 with 6 feet of extension, with 16 vert, with a steep attack angle at 0.5. Like that doesn't seem great. That seems like a very hittable and not foundational pitch. Nothing really excited me as far as the secondaries go. It's possible you can find some innings more so than Mudzinski did. But this might, I know that sounds crazy. Do you think that because Bubba Chandler is scheduled to pitch in AAA on Saturday, that they have Burrows up for one game to then get the timing right for Bubba Chandler?
It's possible. I noticed that Chandler was on Skeens Day, but Mudzinski and Skeens were only a day apart. So
right. So it could be something like just getting pushed back and all of a sudden gets inserted in as Bubba, and then Burrows doesn't really make that next one. They have that off day, I think.
Burrows' last option year.
It is? Is his last one?
So they're just going to. I think he'll stay up.
Is it really his last option?
It says that he has one option on Fangraphs. I don't know if that means this is his option or he has one more year.
No, this is he's been utilized once, I think. I mean, because he's only made one appearance in the majors, and that was in September.
I know that wouldn't make sense to me, but like if you look at another rookie, who give me another?
Yeah, it'd be like 3 options or something. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he has one remaining because he just got called up.
But so it's not yearly options. Look, Shane Baz has 2 options.
Right. But like it was last year, you got called up once, and then this year, this is the second one. You have 3, right?
You normally have 3.
Yeah, so he has 3.
I might investigate that. I don't know why that says 1. It's very strange.
Like if he gets called up a third time, he can't go down, right?
No, because we're confusing 2 things. I think that what they track on Fangraphs is option years.
Oh, gotcha.
And so you can get option 3 times within one season.
Yeah, right.
Yes, but yeah. Anyway,
that is weird. All right, don't know. I'm just gonna hope that it's Bubba Chandler, and I hope he's here like this weekend. That'd be amazing. Mike Burrows could be something. I'm not personally buying into it, but I could be very much blown away and be like, nope, I'm very wrong. I'm curious what we see.
We watched Luis Castillo be pretty good against the Yankees. Luis Castillo, by the way, has virtually the same K-BB as Bailey Falter.
I know, right? It's so strange. And there are some interesting things I do want to talk about with you with Luis Castillo, and we're going to talk about those after this break. So, do you remember the thing that was very abnormal in that start against the Yankees?
His slider velocity was up, and he's kept it up since.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He had one whiff between changeups and sliders in his last game after that one yesterday.
Even though it was a good game. What did he get all his whiffs on? The four-seam?
Well, he got all of his whiffs, but on the White Sox.
Well, no, what pitch did he get all this whiffs
on? It was four-seamer and sinker, I think. It was four-seamer, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I'll take it. I'll take that 85-mile-an-hour slider, and the velo is pushing forward. 95-0 and 95-4 is probably his best 2 games. Yes, his best 2-game stretch this year. And that's just the Luis Castillo story. I mean, I do think that 1 year he won't do it. 1 year we'll be waiting and we'll say, oh yeah, he gets warm with the weather, and then he won't. But I don't think it's this year. So I know he's on the bad K-BB lists. Luis Castillo is a buy for me. And I think what's nice about him too is I think I pretty much set him forget him. I know that they have these splits away and home, but I'm not even looking at the schedule right now. If you wanted me to just go get someone, I'm winning in my league, and I just needed to get someone that I needed to be able to put every weekend. I think it's of all the players we've talked about so far, it's Luis Castillo.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you on that one. I do. I still have my trepidation with this. It is really strange. He threw 23 combined changeups and sliders, and you just go one whiff against the White Sox. It's just what you had. Yeah, one chase. It looks like among everything there, maybe 2. Is really weird, and this was all just four-seamer dominance. 36% CSW, 68% strike rate, 56% usage on that 95-mile-per-hour four-seamer. But it just seems weird that he's so inconsistent with us in the changes specifically. I mean, it wasn't there against the Yankees for Luis Castillo. And the slider was so perfectly spotted against right-handers in that one. I mean, the ones he threw to Judge were so good. And how he got Ben Rice out earlier in the game with it, etc. Not really replicated in this one, even though it was the White Sox. It's a little just, okay, I still am worried that it is going to fall off. You are very right, though. If you are looking for someone all the way down here, that is just like, okay, I think you're going to give me something each week. And yes, among all the doom and gloom, I say you will still have these successful starts from Luis Castillo. Absolutely. I think he's still considered, though, not really a low, right? He's not considered down here with everyone else, though.
Yeah, it wouldn't be super easy to acquire him.
Right.
You'd probably have to pay
something.
As Luis Castillo,
and I would not personally suggest that, but depends on, I don't know. My whole thing with Spore started because of Luis Castillo, and he's very close to my heart. It feels very weird. I mean, I actually have him right here. This is him on my wall.
Nice.
Right there. So he looks very dazed and confused in that bobblehead. But moving on.
Madison Bumgarner with one hand broken.
Oh God. Someone else I see
about right.
Yeah. Tell me
your guy,
Sugano.
Yes, your guy. That's the one I want. I he's pitching well again today, and he's doing it with awful peripherals again today.
Is that right?
Can
you
keep
peripherals?
Doing it?
You mean not like ratios and stuff? It's the underlying.
Well, I mean, today he has 0 earned. He has 1 earned run, 5 innings, 2 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Are you kidding me? You can't keep doing this, can he?
So first and foremost, how are you getting that? Are you using the Pitcher List app, or are you using Savant?
What?
To look up the data of Sugano right now.
Oh, just on Fangraphs they have this live.
Okay. So if you're not, I'll send this to you. It's a PL Pro thing, but Eno Sarris gets VIP access. I think we can all understand that. And you can actually break down really easily what he's doing against lefties and righties. The thing that I've seen from Sugano that's been so impressive has been his splitter placement to lefties. It is absolutely brilliant. We're seeing that once again today in this game. And he's pairing it with a sweeper to righties. So against righties, you get 45% sweepers. Against lefties, you get 45% splitters. And these are working for him plenty. It's kind of great. We're getting a lot of the precision that was advertised when he came over from NPB. It was like, this is the guy who dots pitches. We didn't see it initially. And I'll be honest with you, I remember this in Kodai Senga. It took him until the beginning of June in 2023 for him to actually turn on and really get into his groove. And, save for Shota Imanaga, who's just whatever, oh my gosh, it can take some time to adapt to the different ball, the different environments, just getting comfortable in the major leagues for a moment for a lot of Japanese players coming over. And it doesn't surprise me that it took maybe a month and change for Sugano to look like he is now. So I'm a huge fan of this. I think he utilizes his four-seamer well by not actually throwing it into the zone and just trying to get some chases upstairs. The even counts. I think the sinker and cutter are good strike pitches against righties. And the splitter and sweeper are working.
So you have 10% with a 10% strikeout rate today, not even whiff rate, 10% strikeout rate today. So he's going to go down from his 13.9% strikeout rate.
But he has a one whip and 1.8 ERA. And if the Oriole offense was actually kind of good, which they should have been, but they're not, he would be in line for a win, but it's 1-1.
I'm just going to take the last, since 2022, qualified pitchers doing the worst strikeout rates. Antonio Senzatella in 2025, 10.5% strikeout rate, 6 ERA.
Sensei.
2022, Marco Gonzalez with a 13.2. That might be higher than Sugano at the end of the day today. Oh, hey, that's a 4.13. Is it Marco Gonzalez a bit of a comp? Strike thrower?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, what's so funny? I thought Sugano was a lefty for the longest time. Because it is. I mean, this is what he does.
This year is on there. The 4.71 ERA. There's Sugano. He's going to go down the list. Kyle Hendricks this year with a 5.32. Eric Fetty this year with a 3.77 ERA. A lot of these are this year. So I'm going to take this year out of it because I want to say, hey, what about a full season?
Yeah.
A full season, there's only Marco Gonzalez with 13%. Then the next one is Patrick Corbin with a 15.7%.
Patrick Corbin and his slider did that. I just can't believe that. Oh,
Miles Michaelis with a 15.9 and a 4.78. I mean, those are bad numbers.
So Martin
the line is razor thin. He has to be Marco Gonzalez. He cannot be Miles Michaelis.
Right. So the way that those guys worked, right? Miles Michaelis is just, I mean, he goes dancing with the disco. Right, he throws the slider for strikes endlessly,
and he's a strike
trying
thrower,
so hard to avoid anything off of the fastballs, and then has a great defense behind him. That's always been really the thing, at least like 3-4 years or so for Miles.
I mean, Michaelis and Gonzalez were both strike throwers,
right. And Martin Perez, I think, is a really good one because if you think about Ranger Suarez in this way, these are guys who are crafty southpaws who live opposite-handed down and away and just plays with that. They just really lean into that. And then against the same handed, like, whatever, I'll throw some sliders over here. I'll throw some inside fastballs. It's fine. But then when the opposite handed, like, go for my change up here. Go for my change. Here's my cutter back door. Change up here. Change up here. Right. That's their best version. And that's kind of what Sugano is doing. Just right-handed with a splitter to left-handed.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the best comp here is good in rhythm Martin Perez.
It's going to be hard for me to rank him in the next rankings.
Oh, boy. Good luck. Just remember, it's all about groupings. Just do grouping tiers. I can't recommend that enough because, I mean, it's so difficult to say like this guy's a strikeout guy, but not a good whip guy. But this guy's a good whip guy, but not a strikeout guy. It's like, well, how am I supposed to say this guy over another? It can be so difficult, and that's my biggest suggestion there. We've got one or two more here. I want to just squeeze in. Okay. I know it sounds crazy. I'm going to do this again. This is bonkers. I shouldn't do this. I really, really shouldn't. Jake Irvin's here.
Oh, stop it.
I knew you're going to do that.
You're a glutton for punishment.
What's so funny is that I did this like 3 weeks ago with Eno, and I mentioned we were doing our rankings back and forth. And I had, at the time, Jake Irvin right inside him at top 60 because he was in a rhythm. He had his curveball working. He actually even flexed like 93 for a second, but it was at 92. And you gave me a hard time for it. I was like, yeah, this is very understandable, and you should give me a hard time for it. And the very next start, what does he do? 90 miles per hour. It's the only game he's been 90 though. He's back up at 92. Oh gosh, and I just want to let everyone know it's not ridiculous if Jake Irvin goes on a stretch. When he goes on a stretch, these are the two things that are happening. One, he's throwing good fastballs at 92 plus, not 93, that aren't just like scatter plot. He actually has a history of being able to finally get in rhythm of that. Cool. And two, actually having curveballs thrown 30% of the time and not in high location. That's, if you want to follow last year, Jake Irvin, that's what he did. And he had some games doing that already. He's had some more now.
He's throwing a ton of curveballs.
I would rather go for that than Carlos Carrasco finding a team and whatever. Or Jonathan Cannon, even though I finally got to play this 1812 Overture for this last start. If you haven't seen that video even, like you have to watch that. It's on Twitter. It's the stupidest thing. Thank you, Josh Berry, for making that video. It's me reporting the stat line to
discovered something called the Cannon Gang online. So
really?
There must be a Cannon Gang who loves that video.
Oh my God. Well, I imagine all of White Sox Twitter should be like, this is everything. This is it. But I mean, yeah, Jose Soriano's here. He's at 18.5% K rate with an 11% walk rate. Like,
yeah, I don't. The weirdest thing about Soriano is that like he's doing okay, and I guess I should be happy because it'll make my calls look better. But it's not what I expected. For some reason, the stuff plus is cratered and the location plus is good, and I guess it's because he's choosing to throw the knuckle curve that he can command over the slider and splitter, which he can't command. And that has been good for him. But when I watch him throw the knuckle curve, I'm like, yo, that seems like it goes, it's like kind of slurvy. I'm like, that's going to go right into someone's bat path. I don't know.
It's a big boy. Yeah. It is absolutely a big pitch. It is really good at limiting hard contact. I mean, a 21% ICR this year.
Stuff plus hates it so much.
And last year that curveball was a very effective pitch as well, with a 41% CSW. I think what is happening here.
Can't he throw his splitter? Like the splitter and the slider. Stuff plus is screaming, throw the splitter and the slider.
Well, okay. So what do you know about splitters that I'm going to tell you right now?
You can't command them.
Yeah, of course. It's a 45% strike rate this year. It's so volatile. He doesn't know. He tries to throw it in 2 strike counts. He has a decent put away rate.
Could he step back? Like, could this be a reaction where he's like, I can't throw strikes. I have to only throw the pitches that I can throw strikes with. And then maybe he gets to a point where he's comfortable again. And he's like, oh, I can actually throw more splitters and sliders, even though it might lead to a walk.
I think it's very possible. I personally think that the development that I really want is right-handers to see those sliders. He has a 23% swing strike rate on it. Even though it's only a 57% strike rate, it is his best put-away pitch. It is 38% put-away rate. He throws it in 2 strike counts. When he does, it's a 38% put-away rate. And it's 15% usage against righties. So
maybe it's still about getting to those 2 strike counts more often so you can actually use these pitches.
Yeah. And the sinker is interesting this year. This has been a routinely one of the better hard contact suppressing pitches. 25% ICR in 2024 against right-handers, the sinker. 35 this past year. Not as overwhelming. And he doesn't really get it inside as much as he used to either. And that's a bit of a problem for me of like, hey, Soriano, buddy, you have the sinker that would destroy guys inside. Great. And you also have the slider that does pretty well against righties. That's great. Lefties. Yeah, sure. We want that sinker. That splitter. Cool. But the sinker honestly can live down and away against lefties. And the curve should be this big nullifier. Like those two things, that's there. But is he going to locate it? I don't know. I hope so. It's possible. It's tough.
I'm looking for him on the list of home run suppressors. I'm surprised I haven't seen him yet.
But, we're going to say one more here as we're getting to the top of the hour here. How do you feel about the real estate broker?
19th percentile home run. So in a good way. So
for Soriano,
expected home run on the sinker is the 19th percentile in a good way. So
okay, good.
That's like
home run fly ball rate has been bad, but it's not many fly balls, so that's okay.
Grant Holmes. Grant Holmes. I like Clay Holmes better. Grant Holmes.
Adobe, sure.
Yeah. Last time I checked, there was a pitch type problem. Yeah, what's up with the cutter? Why is it going in and out?
So this was interesting. Grant Holmes, his slider and his curveball were kind of like this big blend of less drop or more drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead, in the last start, he didn't have the drop of the normal curve, but he then has the cutter above the slider, right? It's kind of like, okay, the slider's the better one. I just need something off of it. And all of a sudden, it looks like now the cutter is trying to be the one off of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's good or bad. It also looks like they've retroactively changed that. Maybe not. No, I'm looking at Soriano. Of course not. I'm being so dumb. But I think in time, like Grant Holmes should have a third pitch. Like there will be something that has him as a third pitch. And I don't know what it's going to be. I don't like the schedule ahead that's pretty rough for him. I think it's like Tigers and Arizona and Philly or something like that. It's just not a good schedule for the next 3 games for Holmes. But in time, I'm still a believer in this. I think that he's not just going to be four-seamer slider and then figuring everything out the entire year. I think there is going to be that curveball or that cutter that really actually he gets into a groove with and is a very productive starter. I mean, he has the leash for it. He has a swing and miss with a slider. Like this should be good.
Yeah. The curveball that's been his best pitch, over the course of his career for Grant Holmes is still his best pitch this year. He throws the cutter I was talking about that Davis Martin was throwing, which is the arm side movement. So that's a little bit weird for me. But in concert, one thing that I was thinking about when I was looking at Andrew Haney recently was, we talk about fastball pitchers, like when you have a bad fastball, have 3 of them then. Yep. We've been talking about like add a fastball, add a sinker, add a cutter. I think what Andrew Haney is doing this year is he doesn't have a good breaking ball, so he's throwing 3 of them. I was looking at it. He's throwing a slow curve, which might be, I think he's throwing like a slow curve, a curve, and a sweeper or something. Like he's throwing 3 different.
He's today we've seen that already. The 3 of those.
Yeah, so I think that's the way forward for Grant Holmes is like the curve is your rock, and then you don't really have the greatest 4-seam or cutter or sinker, so you just have to kind of like use this curveball as your centerpiece and then like everything else is a constellation around
I think you're talking about the slider, not the curve as a centerpiece for Grant Holmes, by the way. The slider has been like the best pitch for him.
Well, not by Stuff Plus, and not historically over his career. The slider is the thing he found most recently. The curve is the thing he's been throwing.
I'm with you there. I mean, this year though, we've seen. I mean, comparing the curveball and slider this year, like the slider is 20% swing strike rate, 65% strike rate, 32% usage overall, while the curveball is 16% usage, 53% strikes, 15% swing strike. Like this is not the foundation anymore. And
what I'm hearing, he's reverted basically, is that that the slider that was so good for him last year it's gone. So I guess I'm negative on him because if you think the slider is the foundational piece, like the curve was his identity, and at Braves gave him the slider,
right?
So and if the slider is gone again, then he's going back to the guy that was a journeyman in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I guess my interpretation is that his slider isn't gone; it's that the curveball's gone. And if that's his thing from before, then I'm believing that the curveball will return. While the slider is the thing that's made him in any way not sent back to the minors by Atlanta. That's what's keeping him around. The 4-seamer's getting destroyed at a
95 Stuff Plus slider, though. It's
not a standout. We're seeing all the results that we want to see with it. PLV likes it at 513 as a good enough, like this is going to work. And
85-mile-an-hour slider with 0-0 movement. It's a gyro.
I think I'm going to assume his locations are generally good. Yeah, they are. Okay. Down and away to right-handers.
So he's living off of locations on that pitch because an 85-mile-an-hour gyro slider is not good.
Right. You
want your gyro slider to be 88, 89. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So it just kind of says like, all right, That's the one that you're leaning on right now. There's got to be more.
I'm out.
Yeah, you're out. Yeah.
I'm out. I mean,
I
I
get
think
it.
that one thing that I learned with the Bidot thing for me is that, like, we can tell ourselves stories about how someone is, succeeding now. And I love telling those stories and, make a living telling those stories. But, sometimes you need to look at the longer track record and remember, the entire story, And so for Bidot, the way that, I was like, last year was like, oh, multiple fastballs, good breaking ball, 24% strikeout rate. These are good things. I didn't look the year before in Pittsburgh when he had an 18% strikeout rate. And lo and behold, what I was doing was explaining why Bidot was good last year.
Right.
And it didn't end up being predictive for Bidot being good this year. What he do this year, he reverts to his old strikeout rate. So what I'm seeing with this is kind of maybe a reversion to
it's interesting.
Before.
So
but the whip is still good. Like the command is still good. He does have multiple breaking balls. The velo is not terrible. Like I can see why you might be in. I would just treat him very start by start, and I would not.
Well, that's the problem. That's really the issue right now, is that I have, even this morning's stream, I was recommending saying, like, look, if Holmes is the one that's at the bottom here to add anything, like, yeah, you can, because it's a rough schedule ahead that you really don't want it for.
Yeah, what'd you say it was?
Oh man, I have it in front of me. We have the expected schedules app too, that gives you the next 4. So for us, we have it down as the Padres, the Phillies, and Arizona. And
yeah, I don't want it for any of
them. Yeah, I don't want that either. So I guess what I'm getting at is the question, like you're saying, hey, look, you learned the slider, and that thing is what's carrying him so far right now. I often say things about like old tricks versus new tricks. Of when a guy has his old skills gone, but something else comes in to replace it, and that's good. And you get, oh man, he has this new skill, and once he gets his old skill back, he has both of them, and it's gonna be amazing. But what happens?
That doesn't always happen.
What normally happens is the new skill then goes away before the old skill returns. So
or you can't have both at the same time, like a Bayo,
right.
Yeah.
And that might be the case here with Holmes, even though we saw both skills last year. We had the new skill, the sliders show up. But when the old skill is gone,
man, who was telling me that exact same thing? Maybe it was, God, who was it? Somebody was telling me that they don't want to spend too much time working on things they're bad at, because what if they then don't spend enough time on the things they're good at?
It's like how the Yankees started to throw cutters all of a sudden and ruined their 4-seamers back in the day, right? Like 3-4 years ago. So with Grant, I'm like, I'm 50-50 on of like long term, because it's a really good situation. We know he has good command. He did last year too. And the real question was, I saw him as a fastball that he commands. It's kind of like a Guardian's way of like a fastball you just don't want really to be the thing. But you have 2 good, reliable secondary pitches for whiffs. That was a slider and curve. And this year, what we're seeing is actually a slightly improved fastball, but a little bit worse command on it, without the curve being as reliable, with the slider becoming everything that he can to be where he is right now. And the question really is, how long is that going to last for with the slider as it is? And is it going to be the curve coming back anytime soon? The cutter addition, I think, is a way of maybe nullifying it and making something else to be that strike pitch instead of the 4-seamer. So instead of 2 whip pitches, it's 2 strike pitches. And that was an effective offering, like 23% ICR, 72% strike rate so far. It's actually his best PLV pitch this year. And that might be the answer. And that's at 92. I like that.
And how likely is he to find the answer in these next 3 matchups?
So that's the problem, though. And I'll be watching that every start to say, cool, what is he actually doing with it?
I think if he does the things you're talking about, and like, maybe he has good games by K minus BB, but not by results, then I might be there for him at the other end of this.
Right. That's what I'm saying too, is just like, okay, this is what to look for with it. It's not out of the question that he does, but it's not safe to bank on that he will.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to wrap up this one. I can't thank you enough for being a lovely guest today. 2 questions. When are your next rankings coming out so we can do another Nick versus Eno? And
oh my gosh, it is the end of May. It's about time, isn't it?
It is.
I'll start the process for next week then.
Second thing, when can we do another one of those broadcasts? Because that was like the most fun thing ever.
That was fun. We should do that. Maybe the one after next week.
Yeah. And everyone, please let us know. Let us know on Twitter. or on Blue Sky, what you thought about that live broadcast podcast. If that was a good time for you guys, or prefer us just to do this instead. And the last question: what's coming out? What can we expect from you at the Athletic?
Oh, I don't know. It's just a fallow moment for me. I did just do the buy low pitchers, sort of young pitchers with good stuff but poor results. It was a dissection of Shane Boz and Jack Leiter and some other guys that's up right now.
Nice.
I've got some long-term projects I'm working on, and those should come out soon.
Oh, tease over here. Over here, guys, we keep improving our live StatCast app. I sent it to Eno in the private chat here. I'm curious if I get his live reaction or not.
Yeah,
just click
cool.
on the link.
Yeah,
it's the best way.
I see what you're saying about Sugano's splitter and sweeper location.
It's so easy to see. You just see the two lefty and righty pitch plots, and it makes it actually a lot easier to understand oh yeah, Jack Leiter only against Astros, because I just see only things in the right box while looking at that. So it's the best way to track StatCast data. It's live. You can jump between the games very easily.
You can see how Sugano's always low and away. One thing you like though is people who can go up and into lefties.
I do.
Sugano doesn't do that.
He doesn't. It is rare to see it these days. It is really rare to find someone going up and in opposite-handed. I actually see more lefties to righties than I do righties to lefties.
Fried.
Yeah, Fried does it. Bailey Falter does it. Lodolo does it. It is interesting to see. But you can follow it along. It's how I do the roundup a lot at night, and to really track things. And of course, I watch them and compare and contrast. But it will make you a better analyst super quickly. You'll be able to pick up guys a lot faster than your league mates. That's with PL Pro. You can get 15% off with promo code podcast. All right. On behalf of Eno Sarris, my name is Nick Pollack, and we'll talk about the craft of pitching again next week.